Bangers in the chat. We have got ourselves another banger. Thanks to our good man, Cooper Brooks, for the new intro music for the ASTROLABE. Welcome and good morning to those of you who are here in the live chat. This is a new thing that we're doing. I'm going live every morning. The plan was to go live at 10 a.m. Central, and it turns out it's turning into 10:15 Central. Maybe this will just become the new time. But hold on here. Okay, I'm trying to find. I didn't do enough show prep. I'm trying to find this quote that I want to read you guys later. Someone dropped it in a group chat that I'm in. I'm going to keep them anonymous for now, but I want to share some of the thoughts that he had because I think they segue very well with a lot of what we're talking about here. And who knows, you guys might hear more about it in the near future. But yeah, this is our new King Pilled show in the morning, the ASTROLABE. It's where I come on here and apparently sit here and scroll endlessly through a group chat. No, I've got a bunch of different tweets and videos and everything that I come across throughout the day. I think I've got a pretty interesting timeline, so I want to share that with you guys. And it seems like this is a good time of day to catch people. Most of you are just getting to work, or you've been at work for a little bit. You got emails you have to catch up on, and you just can't get yourself to think about them. And you're looking for something to distract you. Well, I'm here to distract you. We are going to plunder Globocorp by giving you some content to consume to distract you from the job that you hate. And who knows? Maybe we'll actually motivate you into finding a job that you love. Speaking of finding jobs, I just got the news that again I'm going to kind of try to keep this vague for the sake of the people involved. But in the King Pill Discord, there has been a hiring. We have some people in there who are working on stuff. They're working on interesting technological applications that could do us all some good. And I just got the news that based on a relationship that was developed in there, we've got a hiring. So we got a little proof of concept now. I found it. We got a little proof of concept. Oh man, it jumped away from me. If you want to get involved with a good group of guys that are actually doing stuff, who are actually building, working on things to build, cooperating with each other, building relationships, forming networks across the country, sometimes even outside the country. If you'd like to be a part of that, then why don't you join the King Pill Discord? You can sign up at kingpill.com, become one of the select few. We've got a handful of King Pill Discord members populating the live chat right now. What's up, guys? It's good to see you. Let's see. What are you guys saying? Running late is a live streaming tradition. You're just being a great traditionalist, Matt. Yes, that's right. Thank you, Biblical Anarchy Podcast. He gets it. He gets it. We got to be consistent, man. I've built a brand now. I've built a brand. In fact, it needs to start being 10:15, and then I show up at like 10:25. That would truly be on brand. And then instead of going for an hour and a half, I go for 3 hours. That is the King Pill brand right there. Okay, so I got one of these messages. Let me grab the other one that rounds off the thoughts, and then we will get into today's show. I got a couple of interesting, funny, more kind of amusing things to start off with, and then if you guys watch enough of these, you'll see there's a pattern to it. We got to start light. We got to start fun. Got to have some laughs. And then we'll get into some of the heavier stuff. And we do have some of the heavier stuff today. We're going to talk about, what did I say? I said Zoomers, sales, suffering, and the dissident right goes mainstream. Shout out to Taylor Brown in the chat. Taylor Brown is the designated hype man for the King Pill Discord. Come join us. Join us in the Discord. Very funny, Biblical Anarchy. I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. And also, stay tuned. We've introduced this new show, the ASTROLABE. The King Pill podcast is not going away. We're going to continue doing the King Pill show. This is a YouTube-only stream. This will never show up in the podcatchers. If you want to catch it, you got to catch it. You can catch it live when we go live, or you can just catch it, rewatch it later. But it will only ever live on the YouTube channel. And there's going to be another show coming in the near future, and this is going to be a Cooper-directed show. Cooper is going to be flexing his inner art hoe, and that show is going to be called The Alembic. So if you don't know what an astrolabe or an alembic is, this is your opportunity to flex your Googling muscles. You can go find out. It's kind of funny. Whenever I see someone ask someone else, like in a conversation or, on Twitter or Facebook or what have you, I see someone, what does that mean? I don't understand that. I mean, maybe I suppose someone could go back through my history and find places where I asked someone something I could have very easily Googled. But for me, I'm like, hey, there's a thing. Look at this. I've got this great tool that I can use to go learn what that means. And I don't have to just get whatever definition this person's going to give me. I mean, it might be useful to get that because then you understand how they're using it. Words being subjective and arbitrary, ultimately. But again, we have this. We talked in the past about the mind picture and mouth sound dichotomy here. When we're communicating with each other, each of us has a picture in our mind. Apparently, it depends on the person just how clearly that picture appears in their mind. But one person has a picture in their mind, and they know that someone else has a picture in their mind, and we're using these mouth sounds to try to get our pictures to line up. And the vast majority of conflict and strife is really just a product of people not being able to make their pictures line up. Whether it's a lack of communication or a lack of humility or a lack of will, whatever it is, you can't make your pictures line up, everyone starts fighting. And ultimately, this is what we're fighting about. We're fighting about the fact that you have your picture and I have my picture, and they're not the same, and we can't figure out how to make them the same. So words, then, are really just these mouth sounds that we make. And then we actually have, they're like an oral symbol. And then eventually we progressed along. Last show we talked to, Two-Bit Jason came on here, and we talked about his show with Kryptos, talking about the evolution of the written word and the effect that this had. So now we're taking these oral symbols and we're making pictures out of them. And you could take these pictures and you can tweak little details about them and move this line that way and make this thing more circular and add a little dot here and make a little squiggly line with a dot. And, we add these little symbols that are conveying meaning. Again, but all we're trying to do is we're just trying to say, hey, I've got a mind picture. Someone else have the same mind picture as me. And if we have the same mind picture, then let's stick with each other. Let's stay close to each other and look out for each other. But it's still just an arbitrary thing. We've just arbitrarily decided on these symbols. They arose out of some type of consensus, but they're always morphing and updating and moving along. And just because a word has historically meant one thing doesn't necessarily mean it has to continue meaning that thing. At the same time, that word originally corresponded to a particular mind picture. That was a mouth sound that was turned into a written symbol that corresponds to someone's mind picture. And as that progression happens, as you get this conceptual drift in the terminology, in the linguistics, then sometimes that mind picture gets lost. And it doesn't exist anymore. And the funny thing about humans is when we can't see something, we often don't really process that it's even there. We're better at it than most animals, but I should phrase that differently. We're better at it than animals because human beings aren't animals. At least they don't have to be. Human beings can make decisions that reduce themselves to the level of animal. And if you make enough of those decisions over a long enough time, then you'll become an animal. But you will still be an animal with a spiritual consciousness that differentiates you in some sense than other animals. Anyways, so I don't remember how I got onto that. Oh, the alembic. So here's your opportunity. You could go look up what an astrolabe is. You can look up what an alembic is. You can figure it out for yourself, and then it'll probably leave you with some questions. You might be wondering, I wonder why they're choosing this terminology. You might even think that terminology seems sketchy. What are these guys getting into? Well, you'll have to wait and find out. The alembic promises to be a fascinating peek into the dark and strange recesses of the mind of Cooper. Now, Cooper is the king of Zoomers. We've established this early on when he first began joining me on the show here and weaseled his way into the co-host spot. We established that he is the king of Zoomers. And as the king of Zoomers, he is entitled to make the determination of what constitutes true Zoomer art. And today, I'm going to share with you guys some true Zoomer art. Now, this is art. This is, in the same sense that the Mona Lisa is art, this is art. It's art produced by a different type of mind in a different era, but it's still art. This is definitely art. And if you don't, this may be kind of a dividing line. Like, if you don't get this, if you don't understand what is artistic and profound and deep about this, then this may just not be the place for you. We're happy to keep you around. Don't make too much of a scene. But the true stands of the King Pilled show will understand just how fucking phenomenal this is. Here we go. I've got to find the right window. All right. The clip is entitled Zoomer Funeral. I entitled it that. All right. Make sure, let me know if you guys can't hear this. Oh, come on. Okay, no audio. We got to start over again. I think I know what I probably did. I don't usually share a separate window other than Chrome, so I probably didn't check the share audio tab. Oh, to share audio, share a tab instead. Oh, come on. So I can't share audio with a window here. Let's see. All right, we're going to try something different real quick. Let's go like this. I'm going to try a separate approach and pull this out of here and pull this out of here. And then we are going to pull this out of here, and that will leave us with just this. And then we're going to try to share this screen and see if that shares the audio. Motherfucker, it will not share it. Okay. Next thing is we're going to see if we can open this in a Chrome tab. So create a new window. Trying to make sure I don't share any personal information because I just happen to have personal information up on the screen. Open with. Will this let me open with Chrome? Bear with me here, folks. Chrome. Okay, no, it won't let me do that. All right, well, I am now at a loss. I'm not sure how to open this in... Okay, I've got one more idea. If anybody has a good idea in here, then feel free to drop it in the chat. But I've got one more thing that I might be able to do to share it. So let's come back here. Let's search for this. Let's open this and come up here. And then first we're going to try this. See if this will take me to it. Does that do it? Does that do it? Does that do it? No, it doesn't. Okay. So we're going to try this. Download. No, it doesn't work. Okay. Well, okay, actually one more. No, I'm not going to try to do that. I was going to say I was going to try to play it on my phone and try to sync it with the video so you can see it there. That's not going to work. So I'm going to have to figure out another way to share that. So you guys will have to wait to determine whether or not you are truly a real King Pilled stan until you're able to see the rest of that video, because you have to hear it. If you can't hear it, it just ruins it all. So let's move on to the next thing. So you guys been familiar with the with the conversation about the women and the bears. Women will choose the bear, and no, Cooper, I can't just play it and read it. You have to have the actual audio. That's part of the experience of it. So we'll just have to figure out a different way. I'll just have to embed it in something or whatever. I'll think about it once I'm not doing the show. But we'll come up with a way to actually share it. So the women and the bears. Women they'll choose to spend time with a bear instead of a man. And I thought this was kind of funny. Of course, someone knows how to work the social media game, because they went, and this is one of these viral historic vids channel, the size comparison between a female and a male brown bear. Check this out. Oops, almost shared the wrong tab. All right. This is wild. All right, so there's Mama.
In comparison, the girls are about 6 feet tall. All the way.
Look at that frickin' difference. Look how frickin' gigantic this guy is. And this is the Mama over here. So I don't know if you guys could necessarily hear what she was saying, but the females are about 6 feet tall. So female brown bear, approximately the size of a man on average. And and the male is absolutely gigantic. But you know what's interesting? I guess the meme of that people default to when they're trying to think of putting yourself in a really bad situation. It's like between a mama bear or like a mama grizzly and her cubs. Like that's the place you don't want to be. You don't want to be between the mama and her cubs, because ultimately it's what's the saying? It's not about the size of the bear and the fight. It's about the size of the fight and the bear. So you can be small. You can be, relatively speaking, unimposing. I mean, compared to this guy, like if I had to fight with one of them, obviously I'm going to choose her. It's going to suck either way, but this is hardly even like comprehensible how freaking gigantic these guys are. And this is, I'm sure, not one of the largest bears ever. Some of the stories I've read of like hunters encountering Kodiak grizzlies, guys up in Alaska that are just incomprehensible beasts, like 15 feet tall, weighing like 2,500 pounds. They run as fast as a racehorse. You've got guys that, I remember one story I heard of this guy that was, he was like a prospector or something out there. And he got charged by a Kodiak. And he had a rifle. See if I can remember the details of the story. He had a rifle and like a handgun. And I think the handgun was like a 45 or something like that. And he emptied it. He shot the bear with the rifle as the bear's charging him, or he shot toward the bear. And then he emptied his handgun into it. And he was at the point where he's like, all right, going to have to go with fists. And the bear had covered a pretty significant amount of ground coming toward him. And it finally just sort of teetered over and pitched down on its face right in front of him. And he looked, the backside of the bear's head was gone completely. Just like an open void. And he found every single one of the rounds that he'd fired had gone into the bear. The bear had taken every last one of them. It blew out the back of its head, and it still charged him for like another 50 or 80 yards or something like that. These things are terrifying. Absolutely mammoth beasts. But the one you really don't want to run into is the mama bear, because she's taking care of her babies, and she has no concern for her own well-being or her own safety. There's nothing holding her back. You're going to get the full brunt of bear. I think there's some lessons we can learn from that, both about women and about the relative size of, say, a political movement or an organization of people who are seeking to build the future. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be determined. The focused, organized minority is always a much greater foe than the scattered, disorganized, chaotic majority. That's not to say a scattered, disorganized, chaotic majority isn't like something to be concerned about. They're definitely can be a formidable foe in their own right, but it's always the intolerant minority that the rest of society ends up revolving around. And this is a feature. This isn't a bug about human social organization. It's a feature. This is how every healthy human society functions. You have to have the inner sanctums, and then the outer courts, and then the plebs. This is a natural constellational organization of humans that they will naturally default into. In fact, if you try to eliminate that phenomenon, if you try to flatten out this hierarchy, even a bad hierarchy is better than no hierarchy at all. This is why in Romans 13, St. Paul compels us to respect the authorities. Because even a bad hierarchy is preferable to no hierarchy. And what happens when there's a bad hierarchy, And there's certain nodes on this hierarchy that have been corrupted. The way to fix the hierarchy is not to just obliterate it and start over again. The way to fix the hierarchy is you need each person at each level of this hierarchy to remain disciplined and focused and responsible for their domain. This maintains what integrity the hierarchy does have. And then the corrupted nodes have to be plucked out with a replacement already ready for them. If you get people who begin all departing from their little nodes and domains of responsibility and trying to fix everyone else's, then the entire hierarchy is going to collapse. It will maintain no more structural integrity. So this is why revolution is not a way of solving problems. It's a way of exchanging one set of problems for another set. And if you're a studier of elite theory, you'll understand that revolutions, if someone's talking in revolutionary terms, describing how we need to have a revolution, this is never going to be a grassroots phenomenon. It's never going to, it may look like it's coming from the ground up, but it's never coming from the ground up. It's always one segment of the elites weaponizing the plebs against his opponents, which is fine. I think this is perfectly fine. The question is what quality is this new elite class? What are their incentives? What are they trying to build? Assuming they're self-interested, as all men are, they're building something for themselves, and we just have to figure out how we can benefit from that. But you have to recognize that. All of these utopian political movements that are just like, oh, we're just going to flip over the chessboard. We're just going to destroy it, knock it down, abolish it, destroy it, like all these different things. This is not a pro-hierarchy movement if it's speaking and operating in those terms. It's a fundamentally subversive, destructive, deconstructive movement. And all of the movements that have that at its heart always end up functioning and operating in the same way. And they always become vessels for corruption and evil. Because this is the way that evil operates. Evil does seek to tear down, to destroy, to tear apart, to deconstruct. This is like the metaphysical function of evil is deconstruction. Whereas good, capital G good, is a creative, productive force that builds up, that takes whatever we have today and figures out how to build with it. Just take the ingredients that are in front of you and make the best possible meal that you can. You're not grading against other meals. You're grading against all the possible meals that you could have made from those ingredients. Now, this starts to tie into some of the other things that I've got here. So let me see which order I put these in. Oh, no, I had one more funny thing before we get to the more serious stuff. Okay, so Mark D. Levine shares, the Nova Music Festival exhibition is a moving, heart-wrenching remembrance of the October 7 massacre. It offers a message of tolerance and hope. Tonight's viscous targeting of the exhibition is not pro-peace. It is repulsive and vile. I condemn it in the strongest possible terms. This is just the context here. So this is the funny thing. This guy. Imagine you're drinking an $18 sparkling water called Butterfly Mist, rolling on the worst Molly ever stamped, and listening to EDM for the Bush administration when Hamas guys start dropping out of the sky. That's the kind of shit in the Old Testament meant God is mad at you. I feel a little guilty laughing at a bunch of young people getting traumatized. But at the same time, traumatized and or killed. I'll leave it open there. But at the same time, that's funny. You got to admit that's funny. And this is the way that ancient people would have read something like this. If they saw something like this happen, they would see it clearly for what it was. This is a sign from the gods that you done fucked up. You got to get something right. They would, and they may even wind up reenacting it over and over again, having festivals where they reenact this thing happening to stamp it in your memory and say, this is the reason why we don't do XYZ, so that it doesn't get to the point where Hamas guys start dropping out of the sky on top on top of you while you're rolling on Molly, drinking $18 sparkling waters. Okay. So let's see. Which order do I want to do this in? I think there's a number of different thoughts here that they all feed together into a similar conclusion. And so these ones don't necessarily build on each other. This isn't like a sequential. Yesterday, the clips ended up winding up building out sequentially really well. Each one kind of built on the last one. This one's going to be more several sort of disparate concepts that I'm bringing together and tying in a web. So, or bringing together the web to like the central point. So let's start with. You know what? I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna do the one from my buddy in the group chat, and come on, can I not? I don't want to show that. Okay, then we're gonna do this way. Sometimes I wish that I had technology that would just cooperate with me and just give me the things that I want instead of having to make me work around it all. This is my way of not accepting responsibility for not acceptably preparing before the show today. So let me make this text bigger. Oh, that's too big. Let's make it here. Okay. So I'm going to share this. Thank you, Vulpus Persona. Says, was driving yesterday, didn't get to say great show. Appreciate that. All right, this doesn't require any audio, so it should be just fine. All right. So the friend here says, I've been having a ton of really good conversations with people about everything that happened, and my big takeaway from all the drama is that many big accounts might say some of the right things, but ultimately they have no vision or loyalty to first principles. Now, the thing he's referencing, the drama, if you're aware of it, you'll probably know what it's talking about, the drama that went around in the dissident right circles a few weeks ago. If you're not aware, you don't need to know. Just the principle of what he's saying here is correct, that there are many big accounts who say some of the right things, but ultimately have no vision or loyalty to first principles. The post-left is here because it's, quote, cool to be racist, but they're still fundamentally clout-chasing leftists. The only reason they're being welcomed is because it means mainstream exposure and attention. Now, I'll give you some evidence of what he's talking about the post-left making it into our circles. I'll give you some examples of that here in a minute. Just like the OnlyFans girl claiming to be a born-again Christian, the post-left movement into the space is just a rebrand in name only. The dissident right has been pretty much the only place for good discussion and pursuit of truth, and now its brand is being looted. It's a frequent topic of conversation. What do we actually do when our ideas get popular? We always knew that there was a danger and that the ideas would be lost in translation, and that's exactly what's happening. This has created an opportunity and a necessity to redefine what exactly is core to one's life philosophy. For me, it's an appreciation for the divine, the rediscovery of immutable natural truth, and a focus on pro-human over transhuman. There also must be a focus on local level action instead of national or world politics, grounded in truth, nature, and God, and take ownership by building. Many figures are catching on that many of these figures, like Lauren Southern and Red Scare, associating with Brianna Wu and Richard Hanania, are effectively selling out for a position in the dialogue for the upcoming election. The dissident right is hip, and they all want a piece of it. I think this is the beginning of the end for the space around BAP. I think people are now aware of it enough that there really doesn't need to be a battle fought against them, but the focus on establishing a new philosophy that is healthier and better grounded in God, truth, and nature. Basically, what I've always said, which is to live not in opposition, but pursuit of good. He put this so perfectly. This, especially this last sentence, live not in opposition, but pursuit of good. Because the thing about evil is that evil, in some weird sense, it thrives on people warring against it. Attempting to fight evil head on is one of the ways that you inflate it and that you manifest it. If you truly want to, quote unquote, fight evil, what you have to do, the only way to do it, is to build something good. If you build something good, it will necessarily crowd out that which is evil. That isn't to say there's one good thing that you can build that will permanently abolish all evil. This is the wrong way to think about this. The point is not the end. The point is the process of getting to the end. And even if you never get to the end, the fact that you engaged in the process of trying to get to that end is redemptive. Both Ann says, we're called reactionary for a reason. Interesting take. Interesting you say that, because what's been becoming clear to me, and I may end up having a conversation next week. Before I drop the names, I want to confirm that we're actually going to have it, but we may have a conversation next week talking about just this. And one of the things I want to bring to the table is the idea that identifying yourself as reactionary is cucked. You should not be reactionary. To be reactionary is to identify with your subservient status. Because if you're reacting, you're necessarily trapping yourself in a dialectic posture with whatever you're reacting to. Men are not to be reactive. We must be proactive. This works well with the idea that evil thrives off of you trying to fight it, you trying to take it on. When you try to take it on, you amplify it. So if you're reacting to it, you're actually perpetuating it. You're trapping yourself in a reaction cycle with the thing. And if you truly want to end the thing, or you don't want the thing to exist, or you want to minimize its influence, then as a matter of universal cosmic truth, the only thing that's available to you is to build. If you don't have something to build, you're like, oh, I don't know, what do I build? Start with yourself. You have to build yourself. You have to build faith, discipline, resilience, wisdom. You can begin with yourself. Because I think I mentioned this on the show yesterday. You have like the set of all things it is. Everyone's, I want to change the world. Okay, well, the world is like a set. And you are a part of that set. So if you change yourself, you have now changed the composition of that set. You have changed the world. But if you set out to change the world and you treat yourself as separate from it, you're never going to change it. You can't have an impact on it. It's a separate set from you altogether. This is being in the world, but not of it. You have to recognize your own status within the world. And recognize that if you want to build and change something, it's going to start with you. And then networking with people who have come to the same conclusions. And realize, okay, this has to start with me. I've spent so much time kicking against the pricks, so to speak. And now it's time to just get back to basics and start with me. And it seems very evident to me that the truthiness of this is being reinforced by the fact that a bunch of different people are all coming to this conclusion independently at the same time. Across all different walks of life, all sorts of different presuppositional backgrounds, they're all coming to this same conclusion, that something about me has to change. Even in a warped, perverted way, you could see this with the trans thing. Something about me has to change. They're changing themselves. But they're changing themselves in a distorted, warped perspective, because it's not just a matter of changing in any sort of way. It's changing to align yourself with truth. Taking on the framework of truth and adapting yourself to that. Truth becomes the vessel that you enter into, and you are shaped like the vessel, like water going into a pitcher. Water is going to change its shape to fit the constraints of the pitcher. So truth is this vessel that you put yourself into, and you are transformed into a completely different mold by being within it. Some vessels are more true than others. We just so happen to have the most true vessel. The most true vessel whose shape is the shape of perfect humanity. And we can participate with him through his church. The church that he established as his body on earth, we can be formed into that and allow it to change us by our participation with it. This is not just like a kind of a woo-woo mystical spiritual thing. This is like an anthropological truth. The church is the vessel of tradition. It's the life of the Holy Spirit acting among men, forming us into the shape of the divine logos, the most perfect human. So it's not enough to just change. You have to change in the right way, toward the right end. And this is the process of building the city of God. We may never build the city of God. I mean, we know that eventually there will be a city of God. But it's not like the paradoxes from yesterday. We have to build the city of God even though we can't. The city of God is built when we begin building it and God meets us where we are. So some of these references that he's making is, okay, let me close this. I don't need this anymore. He's referencing the some of these people starting to play footsie with the dissident right. Here's an example. So I don't know if you guys know who Brianna Wu is. She is a congresswoman. I don't know if she's still a congresswoman. She was involved in Gamergate. I believe she's trans. I don't know for sure. I went and looked at her Wikipedia, and it didn't say, and that's the sort of thing that I think would be said on Wikipedia, but then I've heard people claiming that she is. She definitely sounds like it. You'll hear in just a second. But so here's Lauren Southern, who's come back on the scenes, and Lauren Southern is here playing footsie with her. Now, Lauren Southern was once part of what was maybe one of the precursors to the dissident right. She was kind of like the slightly more mainstream version of the alt-right. And then she's had her whole story, and I don't really care to get into all of it because she's not that interesting to me. But she's someone who's ostensibly very right-wing and who someone like Brianna Wu would have raged against. And maybe even did. I don't know what their exact background is, but she would have raged against her during the whole Gamergate and then the Milo tours on campus and all this sort of thing. Brianna Wu's been one of the most deranged progressives. Purple hair, and she's a super weird looking person, very odd. So here they are playing footsie. Lauren Southern says, "Hell yeah, Brianna Wu," and Brianna Wu says, "Can't wait to break the internet when we hang out and drive my Porsche collection." And then she screenshots it and says, "Yes, Lauren Southern and I are going to shoot a video later this year, and we're going to drive my collection of classic Porsches from the 80s, 90s, 1000s, and 10s. Okay, she's definitely trans. I don't care if this upsets you. I think there's value in civil conversations with people on the other side. Now, I've seen everybody freaking out about Lauren Southern and everything going along with her, and there's a similar thing happening now, which I'll share something with you guys here in just a minute. And as usual, everyone else is wrong. Everyone else is getting it wrong. I'm the only one that's seeing it clearly. This sort of thing is useful as an indicator, but to obsess about it and to make it like your mission to start uncovering this and exposing or fighting against it. No, we can't compromise with these people. No, you completely missed the point. The bait has been dropped in front of you and you took it. What does this mean? So here's another example featuring, again, Brianna Wu on the trigonometry pod. So we are leaning into the intellectual dork web crossover with the neo-lib. These are the worst people in the world. They're doing an interview with Brianna Wu. It says, for years, Brianna Wu was a leading voice in progressive politics. Now she speaks out against the movement. Join us as we discuss the widening divide between the Democratic Party and its base, the rise of woke madness, and why the left keeps losing people. So let's play this clip of her real quick.
I used to think you were completely full of shit when you talked about cancel culture, and now they've run this playbook on me. The fact that the progressive fringe is now standing with the literal fucking terrorists, like, what the hell are we thinking? Look at what we're doing with the trans children debate. What is the progressive left's answer to any parent that has a question on any of that? It is shut the fuck up. We've got to move back to science and back to reality. People perceive progressives as assholes. A decade ago during Gamergate, people thought the white male gamers were the assholes. I've got news for you. Today, it's trans Twitter, it's socialist Twitter, it's terrorist sympathizer Twitter, it's us.
Okay, now, I can hear it, I can feel it. I can feel you guys starting to spurg. I can feel it. Pull yourselves back. Step back, step back. Just hold that thought. What she's saying precisely is irrelevant. There's no reason to try to like take her words at face value and try to debate with specifically what she's. Ignore the actual conversation. Look at the meta conversation that's happening here. What is the meta conversation? The meta conversation is the people who have been pandered to by the regime for a long time. They've formed like the shock troops of the regime. They've been abandoned. They're looking for a new home. That's one thing. This is very interesting. They see themselves as having been cast off. There's this widening divide in the Democratic Party. So there's a fracturing that's happening. And what are they moving toward? What they're moving toward indicates what they think is going to be popular and powerful. The thing they're moving toward is aping the dissident right. The dissident right has become the fashionable, edgy thing for people to move into. It's our ideas and our little subculture that people are reaching out and trying to move into. As they're starting to stretch themselves away from the regime, they're moving into our circles. But it's not just that fact alone. Like it's not the fact of that happening. It's the fact that it's happening in the first place. There's something to learn here. There's something to be gained. Which is, first of all, there's truth to be found here, as my friend was saying. There's truth to be found here, and even the warped, depraved ones can sense it. They can smell it. Now, of course, they're going to make an absolute meal of it. As he said, as our ideas start getting out and people start taking them on, they're going to take them on in a distorted and warped fashion. And we have to deal with that. And by deal with it, I don't mean make it stop. I mean, keep being us even harder. This is how leadership happens. People begin moving toward you for self-gratifying reasons and sort of LARPing your bit. But as they begin getting used to doing that, they keep doing it. As it becomes fashionable, more people start doing it. And as something becomes fashionable, then it demands leaders. If you spend all of your time trying to fight these people or call them out or expose them as frauds or no, you can't be part of our club, then all you're going to do is squander the opportunity and ensure that everything gets completely watered down and wasted and perverted. You can't fight the bad thing. You have to accept it and build the good thing. If they're starting to come after us, we start playing keep away and make them continue coming after us. Because the point is not establishing a territory, it's establishing a methodology for establishing territory. And then employing that methodology over and over and over again. When people begin grifting on your bit, that's a sign that there's something true and powerful about it. And it's weak to start getting mad at the grifters and going after them and trying to kick them out or aggressive. Because now you've taken your purpose and looked to the side and gone after some sort of side quest. No, you got to just keep doing you. You got to keep building your thing. 2-Bit Podcast, we could be the next Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yeah, that's right. There's a sales pitch for you. He says, I'm going to have such a good time telling certain people, I told you so. Yeah, so this ties in directly with the whole conversation about the PayPal Mafia, which I think I'm due a I told you so round on this, and I think that's something that's going to be happening. I've had a few people reach out to me recently, and they want to reboot the conversation and kind of take the temperature and see where things have gone. And things have definitely progressed exactly the way that we, who were talking about this PayPal Mafia thing, were beginning to sense. There's a very clear defection from the regime class. More and more people are defecting from them, and they're getting more and more hysterical about it. This is a good thing. Same principle applies here. If somebody is defecting toward you, don't get in a fight with them because they're not coming close enough to you. This is profoundly retarded. If people are defecting in your general direction, then allow that vacuum to keep pulling them. People are learning and developing and moving along, and they're coming from their own backgrounds or whatever. It's such a waste of time to sit around and fight with them about it. Just let them do it. When they say good stuff, say, yeah, that's right, that's good. When they say bad stuff, say nothing. Don't engage whatsoever. There was a comment here. Josiah says, gatekeeping means not engaging. What else is a gate for but to forestall engagement? Thank you. Thank you, Josiah. Your brain produced something good. That's precisely it. Don't engage. This is how you gatekeep. You gatekeep by refusing to engage, refusing to acknowledge it. You don't fight with it. Let it go. Ignore it. Another example of this. Are you kidding me? Did I close that tab? No, here it is. Okay. So this chick here is the newest viral thing that everyone on the right is fighting about now. I'll play this video real quick.
Everybody I know who's married right now, they're married to broke-ass niggas. And they don't care. We don't give a fuck about your money. I couldn't care less about your fucking money, okay? Everybody I know who's married right now, they're married to broke-ass niggas.
So this chick here, of course, Black Twitter gets mad at her for obvious reasons. And this chick here, interesting, Amala Ekpunobi, I really liked her thoughts here. She said, what I find so interesting about this video going viral is that many black people would argue that the N-word was reclaimed by black people in order to, quote, take the power out of the word. Yet the word actually seems to have more power than ever. This girl can now control millions of sensitive people just by saying it. To truly take the power out of something, you must stop reacting. I don't think she's... I know nothing about her. I'm gonna be judgmental and assume that she's probably not exactly a political fellow traveler, but she gets it. To truly take the power out of something, you must stop reacting. Now she's directing this toward her toward her countrymen. I would say on the flip side, because now the whole timeline is all filled up with people trying to like measure the size of her nose and dig through all of her post history. And is she an op? Is she real? Is she astroturfed? Is this an actual chick who really showed up and did this and she engineered all this? And you guys are completely missing the fucking point. Who cares? Who cares if she's real? Who cares if she's astroturfed? Are you guys this pathetic and insecure? This is not gatekeeping. This is taking the bait. So what if she's astroturfed, which I'm sure she probably is. There's a bunch of reasons why that could be. Maybe because she sees how all these rabid little retards on Twitter will go chasing after every little meme. I was going back and forth with this guy the other day, and I had to start asking him, like, are you actually a human being? Am I actually talking to a person here? Because literally everything I tweeted, he responded with some variant of no you. No you, no you, no you. And I was like, there's no like new thing being entered into the conversation. This seems like an algorithm programmed to just take whatever you said and repeat it back to you in some new form. When you become this predictable, you are indistinguishable from a computer program. So an aspiring e-thought who's LARPing the trad thing, because, again, the dissident right is the one that's ahead of everything right now. She's LARPing the trad thing because this is the thing that gets eyeballs. This is the thing that gets the clicks. This is the thing that gets people all wound up. The men want to look at her. The women want to yell at her. So she understands the program. This could very easily be just one chick who just understands the program. She's like, hey, this is how you go viral. I can imagine her like breaking it down in a class. Like, here's how you sell yourself. Here's the brand. Here's the different demographics, and here's the research that I've done to analyze the way they respond to different trends. And all you've got to do is you've just got to hit these specific buzzwords, or concepts or like visual buzzwords, so to speak, and their reactions are perfectly programmed. I'm going to get them all wound up, make myself a ton of money, and launch my new career. And the meta is phenomenal here because she's actually saying this herself. When she made this video and someone responded to it, she replied to him and said, "Thank you for my new for launching my new career in conservative commentary." So maybe it's like a performance art piece. Maybe she is our girl, and she's serving as a mirror like she properly should. Whether she intends to or not, that is the function that she's serving. And if you take the bait and you follow her down into this little rabbit hole, you are now following a woman. If you're trying to prove she's not real, you're following a woman. If you're trying to prove that she's been astroturfed, you're following a woman. This is precisely the sort of thing that a more Machiavellian sort of elite class might do if their goal is to get you distracted and focused on a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. Like, what's the worst case scenario here? You have some chick grifting off of our values? Fine. Let her. We're not pursuing universal democratic consensus. The only way that would make you mad is if that's what's happening. Let her do her thing. Who cares if she's an op? We should be busy building our own ops. Our game is, we have all this opportunity in front of us. There's like a spotlight shining down on our little corner of the internet. And the best that we can get is just like yelling about whatever new obvious bait has been dropped. 2-Bit Podcast. I want to grift off our values. Indeed. So do I. Okay, close that. Now there's an interesting, another interesting thread that kind of ties into this from another one of our guys. This is a guy I've started really enjoyed following recently, and I would encourage you guys, if you're on Twitter, go follow at Lord Reven. Let me share the screen here. 2-Bit Podcast. If you can't see the obvious advantage this is, then you deserve to be poor. Indeed. So here's his Twitter handle. It's L0RDREVAN_ Dark Lord Reven. This is what he said. So the cringe factory that is Joel Berry says, "We on the right don't need special vocabulary or systems of thought or lenses or analytical tools. We have scripture, common sense, and truth on our side. Speak the truth plainly and don't make this more difficult than it needs to be." And I would respond to that, but Dark Lord Reven has done it already, and I love what he says. So he says, but we do. It's an initiation ritual, a defense mechanism so we can get people. If you don't understand the lingo, you probably aren't a friend. Every community does this, but regime censorship forced the right-wing ecosystem to up the barrier to entry. See, our world is so distorted it has an autoimmune response to truth, but truth must be spoken anyway, and so the solution is to encode it within frameworks and language that prevent its enemies from immediately recognizing it or by diluting it down to a digestible level. "Why don't you say exactly what you mean?" he quotes. He says, "Simple, because it's a trap. As much as you say to blaspheme the false gods, there are a dozen that you bow before. And when we do say exactly what we mean, you cry blasphemy against the spirit of the age. But by going through the process of learning the language, reading the material, and absorbing the thought, you become part of the in-group. We can speak openly now because you've been vetted by the process. The more power we gain, the more we are able to defend against censorship and the need for obfuscation lessens. The encoded and esoteric truth becomes vulgar and banal. This is a necessary development that cannot be rushed, but it is happening. So how about instead of sounding like a Fed, you put a little effort in and understand. Join the club. It's a great time." And a guy replied to him and said, "The majority of people won't do the reading, not because they disagree, but because they're busy. Even those who are online can't keep up. You will have your outlet for vocalizing your speech, but don't be surprised that it stays niche when you keep it that way intentionally." And he says, All ideas have to be reduced and stripped of their nuance and power in order to be grasped by the masses. This is normal, and mass opinion is not a driver of events. Again, mass opinion is not a driver of events. You got to get the democracy bug out of your brain. This is another reason for keeping some ideas niche. For example, screenshot of the great king of the internet, Landshark. He says, exposure to 80 to 90 IQ alt-writers can turn even the most tasteful anti-Semite into a Judeophile. This is what happened to Ernst Jünger. The French had the good idea that anti-Semitism was itself supposed to be a sort of secret society, similar to Masonry, not for the vulgar masses. This has become very evident recently with things like this. So Jake Shields, who's demonstrating that if you make a living out of getting choked and kicked in the head, then maybe you shouldn't become someone who's known for their commentary. He posts, coincidence? And he's got the Chamber of Congress, the shape of the chamber, compared to a menorah. It's the Jews! So when they took this Greco-Roman structure, that's like the optimal seating arrangement for a chamber of people, a chamber of legislatures. Apparently when the Greeks were building the amphitheaters, it was the Jews. This is the sort of low IQ anti-Semitism that just ruins it for everyone. You're a fucking idiot. Shut up. Sit down. Stop letting people hear what you have to say, because there's nothing good out of it. And Rapist Hitler 420 says, I'm fiercely anti-Semitic, but this is a reach, LMAO. I saw someone else said, thank you for the commentary, Rapist Hitler 420. We've talked about, I think it was on this show, or maybe it was in the King Pill Discord before, we were talking about the necessity of having your own language. Your own special mouth sounds that correspond to mind pictures that you and your boys talk about. This is a good thing. It's a good thing. Gatekeeping is a good thing. It's just that gatekeeping has to be intelligent. It can't be lowbrow and unsophisticated. And it has to be done by what you don't do, what you don't engage in. Men need to have their secret societies. And they need to gather in those secret societies and share a special language that they just speak with themselves that identifies the in-group. This is how you build collaboration and cooperation with men, which ultimately serves as the foundation for a society. The feminine impulse is to break into that and spread it out, to make everything clear, to reveal everything. But there has to be secrecy. You have to have you have to have that barrier to entry so that men can build in silence and where they can actually build. Because if they can't get the silence away from the women, they're never going to build anything. Okay. So, and next week I'm going to be having, I think it's next week, I'm going to be having a conversation where we get into this in more detail. Like, we've had our time, we've had our fun in the Dissident right for the last several years. The memes are great, and I hope people keep making the memes. I'm gonna have to figure out a better way to share them with you so you guys can actually see them. But there's a there is a mounting awareness among the various people who've participated in these political circles through YouTube and Twitter and such for a while, that what we've had so far has been kind of transient. We sort of found ourselves here just out of shit posting and autistic deep dives into ancient history and philosophy and all this. And yet now we're seeing there's something happening where we just get together to start like shit posting and sharing memes and discussing ideas of governance and philosophy and all this sort of thing. And lo and behold, we start producing this effect that's rippling throughout the rest of society. We've become influential even when we didn't necessarily expect to be or plan to be. Which means that we now have a responsibility to make the most of this opportunity. We have to be intelligent. We have to exercise wisdom. What does that look like? I'm going to have a conversation with some guys that you guys are probably aware of. I'm going to wait to fully announce it until we've got it nailed down, but I think it'll be next week. And I think it's a very valuable question that ties in to this idea of civilizational capital. How do we build that civilizational capital? What's the methodology here? Well, that needs to be informed by our posture, recognizing what time it is, and understanding, and then developing a praxis, for lack of a better word, that we can continually apply no matter how things change and morph around out there. Because it seems very clear that we're experiencing the future now. The future is going to continue the trends that are happening right now. And the fact that people are coming and starting to play footsie with the dissident right, at the same time that we have this rising counter-elite we've talked about, who are trafficking in more watered-down versions of the same stuff we're talking about, we've been having an impact, whether we intended to or not. So we need to start having an intentional impact. We need to be careful about it. We need to make sure that we're leading people in the right direction, and we also need to make sure that we're not leading ourselves in the wrong direction. This is good. This is exciting. Jason says he's going to be the Pajot to my Peterson. I like that. Both Ann says, go to church, have children. Simple. Indeed. Go to church and have children. So I've got a couple other things here that are related, and then we're going to wrap the show up today with something that might get you guys in the feels. It definitely got me in the feels this morning, and I don't really know what to do with it. I'm curious to see if you guys know what to do with it. But we'll get to that in just a minute. Thank you, Simon the Amputee, $20 super chat. Shout out you, man. I remember you came on here and we made amputee jokes before. So if anybody in the chat wants to make some good amputee jokes now, then I'll highlight the best ones. Appreciate you, my man. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. So I've got three more sort of, actually, no, this one here is a good example of the lowbrow anti-Semitism. And again, completely missing the point of what's going on here. When you create this scapegoat, you have this one enemy that you begin rabidly pursuing, and you make it your all-encompassing force. Like everything in your life is focused on highlighting this enemy and going after this enemy. Then you start making dumb observations, like the thing with Jake Shields. Like this is fucking dumb. Here, the future king of England must also humble himself, put on a kippah, and bow before his Talmudic masters. The Rothschild family subjugated the British Isles to the Kahal more than 200 years ago. The wheels of Moshiach's chariot are beginning to spin. They got a video here of I don't want to show who actually tweeted this. You can go find it if you want, but I'm not trying to pick a fight. This is so a picture of Prince William wearing the tiny hat. And part of being tastefully anti-Semitic is not freaking the fuck out every time somebody puts a hat on. First of all, assuming your own worldview that says all of this is they've completely executed this mass takeover of everything and they're directing all world events, the only thing that should be left for you to do really is just worship them, because you basically are already. Who cares? If they've already taken over everything, then who gives a shit? There's nothing we could do about it. Anything that we try to do is just going to be taken over and subverted as well. But it also just so happens that if you're the remotest student of history, you understand that the Caesar type character never is an outsider. He doesn't come from the outside and take over by force. He starts inside. He builds up from within. This is why he's in the position to be the Caesar in the first place. Caesar was a Fed until he wasn't. Now, don't be low IQ and say, oh, are you saying that Prince William is the next Caesar? No. But I'm saying that if your methodology is anybody who puts on the little hat is obviously just completely controlled and directed by them, you're not going to see him when he's coming. You're going to fight against him. You're going to fight against the very guy that you're clamoring for. Because if I was the guy who was going through the paces to execute this takeover, you have to insinuate yourself into their circles. Of course you kiss the wall. Of course you go meet with them and talk with them. Yeah, but let me put your hat on. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm going to sit here and talk to you guys. Yeah, I'm going to go through all of the motions to get myself into the position of power. So just the simple fact that they put the hat on or that they go kiss the wall is not sufficient evidence. The fact that they talked to a Jewish person once does not make them a Jewish asset. But if you have this frame on the world that is completely obsessed with one particular tribe, and you see them behind every single corner, you see them lurking in every single possible part of your life, you are now worshiping them, and you're worshiping something retarded, which is going to lead you to making dumb decisions and just not understanding the world around you. If you're going to be anti-Semitic, at least do it tastefully. So these next couple thoughts here are, I've got one here about Nietzsche explaining the problem with chasing happiness, and then I've said before that young men need to have need to know how to sell. And that's more applicable than ever here, because if you know how to sell, and you have the confidence and the awareness of the structure of the world that comes from knowing how to sell, then you can begin to intuitively recognize some of these things. So there's some sales tips here that are very interesting that I want to share with you guys. But real quick, we'll do this Nietzsche explaining the problem with chasing happiness. Okay. So this is from Jash Dolani, Old Books Guy. So this is a quote from Nietzsche. It says, if you experience suffering, I'm assuming it's a quote from Nietzsche. If it's not, whatever. It's a good quote. If you experience suffering and displeasure as evil, hateful, worthy of annihilation, and as a defect of existence, then it is clear that besides your religion of pity, you also harbor another religion in your heart that is perhaps the mother of the religion of pity, the religion of comfortableness. How little you know of human happiness, you comfortable and benevolent people, for happiness and unhappiness are sisters and even twins that either grow up together or, as in your case, remain small together. Whew. That's a jab. So if you experience suffering and displeasure as evil, hateful, and worthy of annihilation and as a defect of existence, then you're operating out of this religion of self-pity, which is really born out of a desire to just be comfortable. You simply want to be comfortable. So then suffering, anything that impinges upon your desire to just simply be comfortable and left alone, suffering becomes a voice of evil in your life that has to be expunged. Really, this is the phenomenon that extrapolated out is the precise thing we've been talking about. If you're wanting to go to war with something you see as evil, it's because it's making you suffer. Its presence is disturbing to you. It's disruptive. So you think the answer is abolish it, expunge it, eliminate it. Kryptos mentioned in his conversation with Jason, I don't remember if I played this part of it, but he mentioned that warfare done by men is different than warfare done by women or motivated by women. See, the man just needs the show of force that's sufficient to get the enemy to back down and go away. Once the enemy's back down, he's gone away, and you know I can execute my show of force. I can come to blows with him, and I can overpower him, and he leaves. I don't need to go chase him and kill him. If he comes back, I'll do the same thing with him. But the woman can't handle that. For the woman, he has to be expunged. The threat has to be completely annihilated. There has to be no possible world in which that threat could return. So this desire to attack evil and suffering, try to fight it head on and abolish it, eliminate it, get rid of it completely. This isn't the behavior of a man. This isn't confident masculine behavior. It's men acting like weak women. It's good for a woman to have that because there are times where you need to eliminate a threat altogether. And it's up to the man to have the wisdom to know the difference. But suffering is not something to be eliminated from your life. The act of trying to eliminate suffering is suffering itself, and that alone should be enough to convince you of it. Suffering will be ever present in this life. Suffering is the way that we experience the difference between us and God. God is infinite, almighty, creator of the universe, perfect love in a person. We are not. We're far short of that. And we experience that when we encounter him. We experience that as suffering. So if you're suffering, that means you're encountering God. God is speaking to you. He's speaking to you through that suffering. And that suffering, when you embrace it and you allow it to teach you what you need to be taught, you allow it to refine you, you become better. You draw closer to God. As you draw closer to an infinite being, as you draw closer, you still experience suffering because you're still far from him. And this process continues. Eventually, the suffering isn't actually suffering. The only reason that you suffer under suffering is because of your frame of mind. When you recognize what the suffering is actually doing for you, you begin welcoming it. It's an opportunity. It's a signal to me. It's a signal to me of my own status, my own stature, or lack thereof. And it hones my attention and focuses it on what I need to focus on, which is not trying to get rid of the suffering, but rather using that suffering as a signal to build myself up into someone better through participation with the church, through participation with Christ's body, and through him working in your life through that process. So if you experience suffering and displeasure as an evil, hateful thing that's worthy of annihilation, you have the pursuit of happiness. Oh, I want to be happy, so I've got to get rid of all this suffering. If you're experiencing that as evil and hateful and you go to war with it, you're never going to experience happiness. Because the great thing about happiness is what he says here. Happiness and unhappiness are sisters and even twins that either grow up together or remain small together. The pursuit of happiness in itself is never going to give you happiness, because what you're defining as happiness is like a differential between happiness and unhappiness. But what you need is to accept that you're going to be happy and you're going to be unhappy, and these two things have to coexist. If your focus is just on happiness, the happier and happier and happier you get, well, the unhappiness is going to follow with it, because your perspective keeps getting changed. With each level up in happiness, your scope of awareness expands and you come up with new things to be unhappy about. So the happiness-unhappiness axis doesn't matter. Just accept the moment for what it is. And if you're suffering, that's a signal to you. This is God's grace to you to indicate your own status to you. It's like the legend on a map. You have a map that you have to navigate through called this life. And you need a legend for it. The legend is follow the suffering. Lean into it. Because the suffering is a message from God to you to indicate where he is and what you need to do to find him. So, these sales tips. This is from a guy, Blake Emal, helping SaaS and agencies increase conversion rates, yada, yada, yada. He had some really interesting sales tips that he shared here that I think are directly applicable to what we're talking about. So he says, sales is a lot like golf. You can make it so complicated as to be impossible, or you can simply walk up and hit the ball. I've been leading and building sales orgs for almost 20 years, and my advice is walk up and hit the ball. Just do it. Just do something. Go out and do it. I tweeted this yesterday. I said, there's a decision you've been waiting to make. You've just been sitting there. I don't know what it is. You do, though. You know there's something that's been hiding out in the recesses of your mind. You've been waiting to make this decision, but you're just putting it off. You're putting it off. You're putting it off, ignoring it, hoping it'll go away on its own. It's not going to. You need to make the decision. Just walk up and hit the ball. Make the decision and then move forward. It's going to give you different decisions to make, and you can make those decisions. And you've got to start this process. You may be great at making decisions in some part of your life, but I guarantee you there's some part of your life right now that you're not good at making decisions in. You're putting it off. You're putting it off. You're trying to ignore it. But you got to stop. You just got to make the decision and live with the consequences. Because it's going to eat you alive if you don't. I'm speaking from personal experience. Number 2, sales is about people and it's about problem solving. It's not about solutions or technology or chemicals or lines of codes or artichokes. It's about people and it's about solving problems. So when you're engaging in sales, and so sales is something that whether your job is sales or not, you have to do sales as part of your job. Whether it's selling yourself, selling your company, selling your ability to solve someone's problem. In any of these cases, you're solving it's about you developing a relationship with that person and solving a problem for them. And when you recognize the function of this, you'll see it all over the place in your life. Part of the reason why so many of our guys on the internet are so identified with autism and with low social skills and why they get called incels is because they don't know how to sell. They don't recognize the power and the power of empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes and saying, if I was this person right here and someone was coming up to talk to me about something, what problems would I have and what would I want to hear from that person? It's not a script. You can use a script sometimes if it's like a good way to kind of get the muscles flowing, but you've got to get away from the script. You got to just have a conversation with someone and treat them like a human being worthy of respect. Because if you don't, they're not going to pay attention to you and they're never going to buy what you're selling. And if you're selling something to them, you're at their mercy. Even if that thing is a political solution to something or some sort of technological application that's going to change the way that they interface with the world, which will affect their political decisions, or if it's trying to get them to join a party or campaign for someone or vote for someone or any of these sorts of things. In all of these cases, you're trying to sell yourself to someone. So you have to put yourself in their shoes, recognize where they're at and what their goals are. What do they want? And how can your thing help them get what they want? Not how does your thing help them get you what you want. That's the way the low IQ, immature guys approach these things. How can I get you to get me what I want? You will never succeed. You will only succeed in making enemies or making friends that you would be better off not having. You have to put yourself in their shoes and ask them, or even tell them how you can give them what they want and prove it to them. Number 3, people buy 4 things and 4 things only, ever. Those 4 things are time, money, sex, and approval or peace of mind. If you try selling something other than those 4 things, you will fail. This is profoundly true. The mistake that rookie salespeople always wind up making, and even I've done sales for a long time, and even I'll fall into this and recognize when I'm doing it because the person on the other line or the person I'm talking to starts I can tell they're kind of checking out of the conversation. You don't sell features, you sell benefits. So whatever thing you have, it has a bunch of features. It has like this whiz-bang, nifty little doohickey. It's top of the art, state of the line, most advanced. It was developed by this really famous person, or this really famous person uses it, yada, yada, yada. These are all features. You're selling features. But why does a feature matter to someone? Why do they care about the features of the thing? What they care about is the benefits that they're going to get from it. How will this feature benefit me? So instead of our thing has the top of the line, state of the art, best thing ever, the way to sell it is, because our thing has the top of the line, state of the art, best thing ever, you will be able to XYZ, which will ultimately save you time, make you money, get you sex, or give you approval or peace of mind. Approval with other people or peace of mind with yourself. All of these, you have to sell the benefits. You can't sell the features. When someone is obsessively trying to sell features, particularly in a political conversation, they're trying to sell like the features of the system. It's going to be unhackable. It's going to be unsubvertible. It's got all this history of all the stability and all this whatever your thing is you're trying to sell to people. Sell them the benefit of it. How is this going to make their lives better? Emphasize that. Make them start visualizing it. Because human brains are pretty easy to hack if you know the wiring. Number 4, people buy aspirin always. They buy vitamins only occasionally and at unpredictable times. Sell aspirin. In other words, sell the thing that people will always buy. People will always buy time, money, sex, and approval or peace of mind. So that's what you're selling. The actual product is just a vehicle to that thing. Number 5, I say in every talk I give, all things being equal, people buy from their friends. So make everything else equal, then go make a lot of friends. I think it's probably so to make everything else equal, then go make a lot of friends. So there's great utility in becoming someone who's known for making friends and for having friends. The merit and appeal that your thing offers to someone is much more important than its actual technical accuracy. Putting this in the political conversation, if we want our solutions to be taken on, then the way to do that is to become people that people like. You have to be likable. You have to be friendly. You have to be able to talk to anyone. Get along with anyone. If you're really worried about, if I talk to this person or if I hear what this person has to say, then no, that's bad. That's bad. It's not gatekeeping. No. If you're confident in yourself, if you're confident and secure in what you believe and your ability to assess things and your ability to be contained within yourself, then you'll go talk to anybody. You're not threatened by the idea of people looking at you or questioning you or taking you on. You know how to make friends. Especially when we were talking about this PayPal mafia thing. Good night, Jason. Thanks for dropping in, buddy. When we were talking about this PayPal mafia thing, a lot of the pushback that I got was from people who were like, these guys aren't our friends. Look at this guy has this different priority, or he has this other thing he believes, or this other thing that he said, or this other person he talked to. He can't possibly be our friends. This is the mindset of a loser. You're an insecure, jittery loser because you know you're replaceable. You don't have to worry about being replaced if you make yourself irreplaceable. But you making yourself irreplaceable depends on other people's perspective of you, not your perspective of yourself. I agree that I want you to be irreplaceable, but that's up to you. You have to make yourself irreplaceable to other people. You can't just expect other people to treat you as irreplaceable because it's your human right to not be replaced? No, it's your human responsibility to not allow yourself to be replaced. And the best way to do that is to make sure that lots of other people really like you and really want you around, especially powerful people. So if you're going to kick away your friends or potential friends because there's something fundamental that you disagree on, you're dooming yourself to be a perpetual loser. I'm just describing this as a facet of reality. You can accept it or not. That's not going to change the reality of it. We have to be better at making friends. Reaching across the aisle, so to speak. There's a reason why that is such a meme that it is. That people have this impulse because there's something good about it. You don't have to compromise yourself. You don't have to compromise your own values to have a conversation with someone who doesn't share your values. In fact, it's an expression of security in your own values when you do that. Mr. Westford said, I did a sales job for about 1.5 years. My boss was successful at it, but he had the worst people skills and everything was just a script to him. I told myself, if this bozo can do it, I sure as hell can. Yeah. He had bad people skills. So it may have been the thing that he was selling. So there are certain products that will overcome. Like when you get a complete command of the market, then it doesn't really matter how great your salespeople are. You're going to stay in that place. Just normal market forces. But the scripts do work. And on average people, a lot of people, you get a sales presentation. You're kind of like, okay, yeah, guy's selling me. All right, do your thing, man. Okay, yep. All right, yeah. Okay, I want to buy your thing, so let's kind of, okay. Yep. Okay, great. Perfect. Good. But then, but the scripts will actually, if it's a well put together script, then it will work because it's been designed to work. But the next level is going beyond the script and being able to internalize the script so you can go off script and come back on at any point. Tricky Woo says, but Kingpilled, he's wearing a red string and a small hat. Right. Oh no, he's wearing a red string his daughter made him. He must be one of them. I don't know, if they're so frickin' powerful, if they could just bring nations to their knees on a whim, control every major market, all economic forces are all reducible to them, maybe we do want them to take up our cause. I mean, how committed are you to your cause? What is your cause? Is your cause have my ideas and values expressed in the society around me? Or is it just get rid of the people that I don't like? Probably a worthwhile thing to ascertain for yourself. Okay. I got one more video here I want to show you guys. Let's finish this up. Being valuable and useful is all you ever need to do to sell things. Help people out. Send interesting posts, write birthday cards, record videos sharing your ideas for growing their business, introduce people who would benefit from knowing each other, then get out of the way expecting nothing in return. Do this consistently and authentically, and people will find ways to give you money. I promise. Number 7, no one cares about your quota, your payroll, your OPEX, your burn rate, etc. No one. They care about the problem you are solving for them. Nobody cares about your grievances. Nobody cares about your political bailiwicks. Nobody cares about your soapboxes. They care about how is the solution you're presenting going to solve a problem for them. And I'm telling you, we are moving in the direction of people more and more wanting our solutions to the problems. The biggest issue is going to be, are we going to become our own worst enemy? By not presenting it at the right time, not presenting it in the right way, not building up the infrastructure to actually deliver on these things. There's many, many reasons to be white-pilled. Things are going to suck, but things always suck. Things suck now way more than they did 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, everyone was miserable and everything sucked. So 10 years from now, everything's going to be miserable and everything's going to suck. But there'll still be white pills because this is just how it works. This is just how things proceed. All things work together for good. You can find the good in everything. And if you do, you'll start producing more of it. On that note, I've got a video here for you guys. And I'm very conflicted on this. I was having an argument in my own head after I watched this video this morning. And I'm curious to see what you guys think of it, because this is Sky King. I don't know if you guys are aware of Sky King. Sky King was a guy in 2018 up in Seattle. I remember this because I was living there, and all of this happened very close to where I lived. He was a troubled young guy. I think he was an aircraft mechanic or something along those lines. He was working at the airport. And he just went in one day and stole a plane and went for a joyride. You guys have probably seen the memes before. You may have even seen this video, but I don't know. There's something that's really beautiful about this video, even though it's this tragic story. There's romance to it. There's romance to this tragedy, and I don't know how to. I don't know what my own takeaway from it is, except for the fact that when I watched this video, I was in tears at the end of it. I'm hoping I'm not going to be when I watch it again now, because I already have. I got the cold hard heart, so I've already seen it, so it may not affect me in the same way. But I'm very conflicted about it affecting me in this way. So I'm curious to see how this affects you guys. Let's see.
I did a kind of a bad thing, kind of a selfish thing, but it's all good. I'm gonna go check out Rainier. Yeah, 449. So you hijacked the plane, is what you're saying? Yeah, I'm afraid I did.
What the hell? Holy shit! Oh my god!
The fucking Alaska Airlines Q400. What the fuck is he doing over here?
Any idea if a Dash 8 Q400 can do a barrel roll?
Just flying the plane around, do you seem comfortable with that?
Oh, hell yeah, it's a blast, man. I played video games before, so I know what I'm doing a little bit. No, everything's peachy clean. Just did a little circle around right here. It's beautiful. I think I got some gas to go check out the Olympics. And, yeah.
Well, if you can see the Olympics, the weather's good. I can see the Olympics through my window, and it looks pretty good over there.
All right, because I hit some, felt like turbulence around right here, but there's no clouds hardly.
Oh, that's just the wind blowing over all the bumpy surfaces there.
Oh, copy that. Man, have you been to the Olympics? These guys are gorgeous. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I have been out there. It's always a nice drive.
This is probably like jail time for life, huh? I mean, I would hope it is for a guy like me. Damn it, Andrew. People's lives are at stake here.
Now, Rich, don't say stuff like that.
No, I don't want to hear no one. I just want you to whisper sweet nothings in my ear.
Hey, Rich, this is Captain Billy here. We're still listening. My airplane's doing just fine. How's yours?
I got a lot of people that care about me, and it's going to disappoint them to hear that I did this. I would like to apologize to each and every one of them. Just a broken guy. Got a few screws loose, I guess. Never really knew it until now. Hey, pilot guy, can this thing do a backflip thing?
Well, I try to figure out how to use the autopilot first.
If you were to do it, how would you do it? Hey, you think if I landed successfully, Alaska will give you a job as a pilot?
I think they would give you a job doing anything if you could pull this off.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna land it. Like, in a safe kind of manner. I think I'm gonna try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, I'm just gonna nose down and call it a night.
Captain Bill, congratulations. You did that. Now let's try to land that airplane safely and not hurt anybody on ground.
All right. Damn it. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to. I was kind of hoping that was going to be it, you know? For long, I feel like one of my instruments is going out or something.
I don't know about you guys, but that hearing that from the tower that he just completed the barrel roll successfully, that gets me. It's really tragic. Like, he was a good dude, he's a good-hearted dude who was coming to grips with the fact that he was fucked up. One thing they didn't include in there is when he said, "Do I if I complete this, will they? You think Boeing will give me a job?" And he's like, "Oh, I think they'll give you anything if you come down from there." And they edited out his response. His response was, "Nah, man." He's like, "I'm white. They're not going to do anything for me." This is 2018. Yeah, he died. He shortly after the barrel roll, he found a deserted area on one of the islands in the Puget Sound, and nosed down into the ground intentionally. And I saw in the comments on this, someone said that there's disturbed people, and there are good disturbed people and bad disturbed people. There's a story that's been going around lately of a bad disturbed person. I've intentionally not been talking about it. If you're aware of it, you'll know about it. And lots of people have had their takes. This is just very obviously a disturbed person, bad disturbed person. This guy was a good disturbed person. He was pushed to his breaking point. And yeah, you shouldn't commit suicide. You shouldn't go steal an airplane and fly it around. But for whatever reason, I don't know why, there's something that's really beautiful about the story. There's something that really pulls it at your humanity. I wish you didn't have to do that. I wish it hadn't gone to that point for him. But I think that given the circumstances, always justifying the sins of someone else, never justifying your own. Given the circumstances, if he was going to go out, that's probably the best way he could have chosen to do it. Pray for him. He had a good heart. He did some fucked up stuff, and he went out in a bad way, but he made the best of it, even in that moment. Pray for his soul. Thanks for showing up, guys.